My sister accidentally sent me her secret Pinterest board, so I used it to prove she'd been planning to steal my fiancé for months. The notification popped up at 2:17 a.m., the kind of hour only insomniacs and heartbroken people know well. Claire Chen has shared a Pinterest board with you. Dream wedding, Jake and me. I stared at my phone, bleary-eyed from editing wedding mood boards, convinced it was a glitch, a cruel algorithmic joke, because Jake was my fiancé. We'd gotten engaged under the Space Needle 3 months ago. Claire had hugged me tearfully at the party, whispering, "He's perfect for you, Nini." But curiosity and dread made me click. The board loaded instantly. Dozens of pins, a lace gown labeled "My Dress for Jake," a venue shot of the lodge at Woodinville with the caption, "Our first dance spot," a seating chart with Claire plus Jake at the head table. Even a fake save the date. Claire Chen and Jake Reynolds. June 15th, 2025. My breath stopped because June 15th was our wedding date, the one Jake and I had booked 6 months ago. I scrolled faster, found a pin titled, "How to Tell Your Sister You're in Love with Her Fiancé Without Hurting Her," linked to a Reddit thread. Another, "Signs he's falling for you even if he's engaged." And then, the worst one, a side-by-side photo. Left, me and Jake at our engagement shoot. Right, Claire photoshopped over me, wearing my dress, Jake's arm around her waist. Caption, "Soon, this will be real." My hands shook. This wasn't a mistake. This was a blueprint. I checked the board's creation date, October 12th, 2024, 2 weeks before Jake proposed. I called him immediately, straight to voicemail. I texted Claire, "What is this?" No reply. For days, I told myself it was a fantasy, a weird coping mechanism. Claire had always been dramatic, crying when I got into a better college, quitting piano after I won a recital. But this was different. Then I found the text. While Jake slept, I checked his phone. He never locked it. In a hidden folder labeled "Work," I found screenshots of messages between him and Claire. "Claire, I can't stop thinking about you. Every time I see her wear that necklace you gave her, I want to scream." Jake, "It's complicated, but I feel it too." Claire, "What if we just ran away?" After the wedding, our wedding. They weren't just planning to steal my fiancé. They were planning to humiliate me at the altar. I didn't confront them, didn't cry. I started documenting everything. Cloud timestamps, metadata, location tags, every lie they'd woven while smiling at family dinners. Because if they wanted a wedding, I'd give them one they'd never forget. The next morning, Jake kissed me goodbye and said, "Love you, future Mrs. Reynolds." But his phone buzzed in his pocket. A text from Claire. "Don't forget our lunch. Wear the blue shirt I like." I smiled and said, "Have a great day, honey." Then I turned on location sharing and followed them both. Jake left for work at 8:15 a.m., kissing my forehead like he always did. "Love you, future Mrs. Reynolds," he murmured, adjusting his watch, the one I'd given him for our engagement anniversary. I smiled up at him, heart pounding beneath my ribs. "Have a great day, honey." His phone buzzed in his pocket as he walked out the door. I didn't need to see the screen to know who it was from. The vibration pattern, 3 short pulses, was Claire's signature. She'd done it since college, when we shared a dorm room and she'd tap her desk to get my attention. I waited until his car turned the corner. Then I opened my laptop and activated the location sharing app I'd installed on his phone last night while he slept. Not spyware. Just Find My iPhone, something he'd enabled years ago and never thought twice about. By 12:03 p.m., the dot on my screen stopped moving at Cafe Allegro, downtown Seattle. The same cafe where Jake and I had our first date. The same cafe where he'd told me, "You're the only one I've ever wanted." I grabbed my camera bag, threw on sunglasses, and took an Uber. I didn't confront them, didn't burst in screaming. I sat at a corner table, ordered a chai latte, and watched through the steam rising from my cup. They were tucked in a booth by the window. Claire in a cream sweater that matched the one I'd worn to our engagement party. Jake leaning in like he used to lean in to me. Her hand rested on his forearm. His thumb stroked her wrist. Intimate, familiar, rehearsed. I discreetly snapped photos with my DSLR. Zoom lens, silent shutter. Not for social media, for evidence. Then I noticed something else. Claire pulled out her phone and showed Jake something. He laughed, a deep, warm sound I hadn't heard in weeks. She leaned closer, pointing at the screen. I zoomed in. It was my Pinterest board, our wedding mood board. The one titled, "Nina and Jake, Forever Starts Here." She was showing him my vision for our life and laughing about it. My stomach twisted. This wasn't just betrayal. It was erasure. They weren't just stealing my fiancé. They were stealing my future, my dreams, my carefully curated hope, and repackaging it as theirs. I stayed until they left, holding hands, walking toward Pike Place Market like a real couple, like the couple I thought we were. Back home, I uploaded the photos to a secure cloud folder labeled Project Truth. Then I dug deeper. I checked Claire's Instagram geotags, found a post from 2 weeks ago. Best Sister Day, tagged at a bridal boutique in Bellevue. The caption, "Trying on dresses with my favorite girl." But the photo only showed Claire. No me. I called the boutique. Pretended to be a friend planning a surprise bachelorette. Was Nina Chen there too? The sales associate hesitated. No, just Claire. She said her sister was too busy with work, but she tried on 3 gowns, said they were for her sister's wedding. Lies, all of it. That night, Jake came home cheerful, humming as he made pasta. "Great day," he said, kissing my cheek. "Work stuff finally cleared up." I nodded, stirring sauce. Glad to hear it. Inside, I was cataloging every detail. The blue shirt Claire had texted him to wear, the way he'd avoided eye contact during dinner, the fact that he'd showered before coming home. He never did that after work. He was living 2 lives. archives, and I was the prop in his cover story. But the real breakthrough came at 11:47 p.m. when his phone lit up on the nightstand. A notification from Pinterest. Claire Chen saved your pin. How to elope without telling anyone. I didn't touch his phone, didn't screenshot it. Just memorized the words. They weren't waiting until the wedding. They were planning to disappear beforehand, leaving me at the altar with no explanation, just a canceled venue and a broken reputation. I couldn't let that happen. So I did the one thing they'd never expect. I started helping them. The next morning, I accidentally left my wedding planner open on the kitchen counter. A physical book filled with notes, vendor contacts, and deposit receipts. Among them, a highlighted note about a backup elopement plan in case of family drama. I knew Claire would snoop. She always did. And sure enough, by noon, I got a text from her. Hey sis, saw your planner. That elopement idea is genius. Maybe you and Jake should do it. Less stress. Too eager, too specific. I replied, maybe, though Jake says he wants the big day. Says it's what I deserve. Her response came instantly. He's right. You totally do. But her emoji was off. She never used smiley faces. Always hearts or sparkles. She was performing for me. That evening, I called the venue coordinator. Hi, this is Nina Reynolds. I'm considering a last-minute change, maybe eloping instead. Could you tell me what our contract says about cancellations? The coordinator sighed. Honestly, if you cancel within 60 days, you lose the $10,000 deposit. But if you reschedule, we can hold the date. I thanked her and hung up. Then I emailed Jake's employer, a tech firm with strict ethics policies. Attached, screenshots of his texts with Claire, timestamped during work hours, including one where he wrote, "Can't focus today, just thinking about her." Subject line, concern about employee conduct during work hours. I didn't sign it. Didn't need to. HR would trace the IP, and when they did, they'd find it led to a public library downtown. Untraceable. Let them wonder who sent it. Because the best revenge isn't rage. It's letting people build their house of cards while you quietly remove the foundation. 2 days later, Jake came home early, face pale. HR called me in. He said, someone reported me for unprofessional conduct. I hugged him tightly and whispered, who would do that to you? But that night I received a text from Claire. We need to speed things up. Meet me at the ferry terminal tomorrow, 3 p.m. Jake didn't sleep that night. He paced our bedroom like a caged animal, running his hands through his hair, muttering about misunderstandings and career damage. At 2 a.m., he finally collapsed onto the bed, but his eyes stayed open, fixed on the ceiling. I lay perfectly still, breathing evenly, pretending to sleep. Inside, I was counting down the hours until 3 p.m., when Claire would be waiting at the ferry terminal, ready to run away with the man who'd promised to love me forever. The next morning, Jake acted normal, made coffee, kissed my forehead, said, love you, Nini, like it meant something, but his hands shook as he tied his tie. His smile didn't reach his eyes. I let him leave without a word. Then I called in sick to work, packed a small bag, and took an Uber to the Bainbridge Island ferry terminal, the one they'd chosen for their escape, not to stop them, to witness. I arrived at 2:45 p.m., wearing a baseball cap and oversized sunglasses, and sat on a bench near the ticket booth. The terminal buzzed with tourists and commuters, perfect cover. At 2:58 p.m., Claire appeared, wearing a simple sundress, a duffel bag slung over her shoulder, her face pale but determined. She checked her watch every 30 seconds, scanning the crowd. At 3:07 p.m., Jake's car pulled into the lot. My breath caught. He got out slowly, looked around, then walked straight to Claire. They embraced tightly, foreheads touching, whispering urgently. Then they turned toward the ticket line. But something was off. Jake kept glancing over his shoulder. His posture was stiff, not relaxed. And when Claire reached for his hand, he hesitated before taking it. They bought tickets, boarded the ferry. I followed at a distance, keeping them in sight but never close enough to be recognized. Halfway across Puget Sound, I saw it. Jake pulled Claire aside near the railing. They argued quietly, intensely. Claire gestured wildly. Jake shook his head, stepped back. Then he did something that stunned me. He hugged her, briefly, sadly, and walked away. Back to the car deck. Alone. Claire stood frozen at the railing, tears streaming down her face, watching the Seattle skyline grow smaller. I didn't approach her, didn't gloat, just watched as she wiped her eyes, squared her shoulders, and disappeared into the passenger cabin. Back on shore, I found Jake sitting in his car in the parking lot, head in his hands. I walked up slowly. Rough day? He looked up startled. Then relief flooded his face. Nina, thank God. I slid into the passenger seat. What happened? He didn't answer right away, just stared at his hands. She wanted me to leave with her. Today, no explanations, no goodbyes, just gone. And? I asked softly. I couldn't do it. His voice cracked. I thought I could, but when I saw her standing there, all I could think about was you. Waiting at home, trusting me, planning our life. He looked at me, eyes raw. I'm so sorry, Nina. I don't know what I was thinking. I didn't believe him. Not fully. But I nodded, squeezed his hand. Let's go home. That night, I played the perfect fiancé, made his favorite pasta, let him hold me while he cried, whispered, it's okay, we'll get through this. But after he fell asleep, I opened my laptop and checked my email. A message from HR at Jake's company. Thank you for your concern. After reviewing communications, we've placed Mr. Reynolds on administrative leave pending investigation of unprofessional conduct. Perfect. The next morning, Claire called me, voice trembling. Nina, I need to talk to you. About Jake? I asked, stirring my coffee. Yes, I made a mistake. I thought I loved him, but I was just jealous of your life, your happiness. I'm so sorry. I let her sob for a full minute. Then I said, meet me at the lodge at Woodinville. 1 hour. She agreed instantly. I arrived early, reserved a private patio table, the same spot pinned on her secret Pinterest board, ordered 2 glasses of champagne, waited. When she arrived, she looked wrecked. No makeup, hair messy. The confident, competitive sister I'd known was gone. I don't want to fight, she whispered, sitting across from me. I just want you to know I'm getting help. Therapy. I've been unwell for a long time. I studied her. The genuine shame, the exhaustion, the fear. This wasn't performance. This was collapse. Why, Claire? I asked quietly. Why him? Why now? She looked down at her hands. After Dad died, you got Mom's attention, got into Stanford, landed your dream job, and I just faded. Jake was the first thing I ever wanted that you had, and I couldn't stand it. She met my eyes, tears spilling over. I didn't mean to hurt you. I just wanted to feel seen. For a moment, I almost forgave her. Almost. Then I remembered the photoshopped wedding image, the fake save the date, the way she'd laughed at my mood board. I believe you're sorry, I said slowly. But sorry doesn't erase what you did. She nodded, defeated. I know. I reached into my bag and slid an envelope across the table. This is for you. She opened it slowly. Inside, a printed timeline of every text, call, and meeting between her and Jake. Dates, times, locations. At the bottom, a note. HR has a copy. So does the venue. So do our parents. You have 48 hours to leave Seattle, or I go public. Her face went slack. You'd ruin me? No, I corrected gently. You did that yourself. I'm just making sure you can't do it again. She left without another word. That evening, Jake came home with flowers. I quit my job, he said. Started applying to companies in Portland. Fresh start. Just us. I took the flowers, smiled. That sounds perfect. But as I put them in water, I knew the truth. Some betrayals can be forgiven. But trust is a mirror. And once it's shattered, you can glue it back together, but you'll always see the cracks. 2 weeks later, as Jake and I toured apartments in Portland, I received a package from Claire, a USB drive labeled "All Originals Deleted," and a note that read, I'm getting help. Don't make me a villain. But the real shock came when I plugged it in and found a video confession addressed to our parents. The package arrived on a rainy Tuesday wrapped in plain brown paper. No return address, just my name and Claire's neat script. I almost didn't open it. After everything, I'd built a careful distance between us. She'd left Seattle, Jake had started therapy, and I'd begun designing a new life in Portland. But curiosity, and the ghost of the sister I once loved, made me tear open the envelope. Inside, a USB drive labeled "All Originals Deleted." A folded note, I'm getting help. Don't make me a villain. No apology. No excuses. Just a plea. I plugged the drive into my laptop that night after Jake fell asleep. A single video file appeared. For Mom and Dad, if you're watching this, I've failed again. My breath caught. Our parents had died in a car crash 5 years ago. Claire had never made peace with their deaths. She'd always believed they favored me, the responsible daughter who got straight A's, while she was the creative one who dropped out of art school. I pressed play. Claire appeared on screen, pale, tired, sitting in a sparse apartment with desert light streaming through the window. She wore no makeup, her hair pulled back simply. When she spoke, her voice was raw, stripped of the performative brightness I'd known for 28 years. I don't expect forgiveness, she began, eyes fixed on the camera, but you deserve to know the truth. She explained everything. The crushing pressure of being the other daughter, how seeing my engagement triggered a spiral of envy and self-loathing, how she'd convinced herself Jake was meant for her because he saw her real self. But that's not true, she whispered, tears welling. He never saw me. He just saw a way to escape his own guilt. And I used him to escape mine. Then came the hardest part. I didn't just steal your fiancé, Nina. I stole your future because I thought mine was already ruined. And that's the cruelest theft of all. She confirmed she'd deleted every fake Pinterest pin, every edited photo, every trace of the fantasy. Said she'd enrolled in intensive therapy in Tucson, and that she'd contacted Jake's HR to retract her statements, clearing his name so he could rebuild his career. I'm not asking for your friendship back, she said, voice breaking. Just thank you for showing me the truth without destroying me. The video ended with a final frame, a photo of us as kids, arms around each other at Disneyland, wearing matching mouse ears. The caption, real, then now. I sat in silence for a long time after it finished. Not angry, not relieved, just sad. For the years of insecurity that led her here. For the pain she caused trying to fill a void no stolen life could ever fill. That evening, I met Jake at our favorite coffee shop. I showed him the video. He watched it twice, then sighed. She's not evil, he said quietly. She's just lost. I nodded. And now she's trying to be found. We decided together we wouldn't tell our friends, wouldn't post online. The public exposure would only bury her deeper in shame. Instead, I did something unexpected. I created a private Instagram account, not for exposure, but for healing. I called it Real Over Perfect. My first post was simple. Comparison is the thief of joy. But so is pretending. You don't need someone else's life to be worthy of love. Your real story is enough. Beneath it, I shared red flags of emotional infidelity, resources for betrayal recovery, and a link to a free online course on digital boundaries. I didn't mention Claire, didn't name names, just offered tools so others wouldn't fall into the same trap. Within days, the account gained traction. People shared their own stories of siblings who betrayed them, partners who chose fantasy over reality, the quiet agony of being replaced by a curated version of yourself. A nonprofit reached out to partner on a workshop about family dynamics and self-worth. Even my old design school invited me to speak about ethical storytelling. My pain had become purpose. 2 weeks later, I received an email from Claire's therapist with Claire's permission. She's doing the work. It's slow. It's hard. But she's showing up. Thank you for leaving the door cracked. I didn't reply. Some boundaries need to stay intact, but I also didn't block her number when it popped up months later. Just let it ring, because healing isn't about reunion. It's about release. One rainy afternoon in November, I was editing a client's family portraits when my phone buzzed. A text from Claire. Saw our Real Over Perfect post today about how joy doesn't need an audience. I'm proud of you. I didn't respond, but I saved the message, not as a relic of what was lost, but as a reminder that even broken people can choose better. Later, I walked to the park where Jake and I used to feed ducks. I didn't go to mourn. I went to remember the good parts, The real parts, the parts that were mine alone. As I sat on our bench, a young couple passed by, laughing, holding hands. The woman glanced at me and smiled. And for the first time in a long time, I smiled back. No performance, no filter, just me. Because the greatest revenge wasn't watching Claire fall. It was building a life so authentically mine, no one could ever steal it again. 6 months later, I received a wedding invitation. Not Claire's, but from a stranger who'd followed real over perfect. Her note read, "You taught me to choose real love over perfect lies. Now I'm marrying the man who knew me before the filters." True justice wasn't punishment. It was prevention. The wedding invitation arrived on a Tuesday, wrapped in handmade paper, tied with twine. No gold foil, no designer logo, just simple, elegant script. "You showed me that real love doesn't need an audience. Now I'm marrying the man who knew me before the filters." Mia and David. Mia wasn't a friend, not even an acquaintance. She was a stranger who'd followed a real over perfect from its first post. In her note, she wrote, "Your story saved me from marrying a man who only loved my Instagram persona. I walked away. Found someone who loves my messy kitchen, my anxiety days, my unfiltered laugh. Thank you for teaching me that real is enough." I held the invitation in my hands, tears blurring the ink. This was it. The true measure of justice. Not prison sentences or public shaming, but prevention. One life changed because someone chose truth over performance. By then, Real Over Perfect had grown into something I never expected. A community of over 150,000 people sharing unfiltered stories about digital deception, emotional infidelity, and the courage to be seen as they are. We'd partnered with schools, hosted workshops, even launched a free toolkit for families navigating social media comparison. My UX design business had shifted too. I now specialized in authentic user experiences, helping brands tell real stories instead of curated fantasies. Claire never reached out again. But 6 months after her video, I received a final email from her therapist. She's doing well. Started a support group for women struggling with sibling rivalry and identity. She calls it the real room. She'll never contact you, but she thanks you every day. I didn't reply. Some boundaries are acts of love too. Jake, he'd found a new job in Portland, a smaller tech firm with strong ethics policies. He went to therapy twice a week, and every Sunday he made pancakes, the same ones he'd made the morning after our engagement, and said, "Thank you for giving me a second chance." I didn't say "you're welcome." Some things don't need words. One spring afternoon, I stood in my studio photographing a mother and her daughter, both wearing mismatched socks, hair slightly messy, laughing at a joke only they understood. The client looked at the preview screen and whispered, "It's not perfect, but it's us." "Exactly," I said. "That's why it's beautiful." Later, as I walked home through Portland's blooming cherry trees, I passed a young woman sitting on a bench, scrolling through her phone. She looked up, caught my eye, and smiled. Not the curated, filtered smile I'd seen 1,000 times online, but a real one. Warm, present, human. I smiled back. That night, I updated Real Over Perfect with a new post. Revenge isn't watching liars fall. It's building a world where truth is the bravest thing you can wear. Keep showing up. Keep being real. You're enough, exactly as you are. Beneath it, I shared a photo, not of me, but of the mother and daughter from today's session. Mid-laugh, sunlight catching the crumbs on their shirts. Within hours, the post had thousands of shares. Comments poured in. This is what healing looks like. I deleted my dating apps today, starting fresh with my real self. Thank you for reminding us that authenticity is the ultimate rebellion. I didn't respond to them all, but I read everyone, and in each, I saw a reflection of my own journey. From the woman who let her joy be stolen to the one who now protected others' right to be real. A week later, I received a call from a national nonprofit. They wanted to fund a nationwide tour. The Real Over Perfect Project. Workshops in high schools, community centers, even family therapy clinics, teaching digital literacy, emotional resilience, and the power of unfiltered truth. I said yes, because the greatest revenge against those who steal your story isn't destruction, it's creation. It's building something so honest, so human, so fiercely real that no filter, no lie, no stolen image can ever dim its light. And as I packed my camera bag for the first workshop in Seattle, I finally understood what Claire had been searching for all along. Not someone else's perfect life, but the courage to live her own. I couldn't give her that, but I could give it to everyone else. On the day of Mia's wedding, I stood in the back of the chapel as she walked down the aisle, not to Jake, not to a fantasy, but to a man who held her hand without checking his phone once. And in that moment, I realized true justice isn't punishment. It's watching someone choose real love over perfect lies, and knowing you helped them see the difference. Mia's wedding was held in a sunlit chapel in Bellingham, just north of Seattle. Simple wooden pews, wildflowers in mason jars, no grand entrance, no staged photos. Just two people choosing each other, fully, finally, without filters. I sat in the back row, not as a guest, but as a witness. I'd never met Mia before, but when she'd invited me, she'd written, "You showed me that real love doesn't need an audience, but I want you to see it anyway." As the music swelled, she walked down the aisle, not in a $10,000 gown, but in a cream linen dress she'd sewn herself. Her hair was loose, her face bare of makeup, her hands slightly trembling. And when she reached David at the altar, he didn't check his phone, didn't glance at the crowd. He took both her hands in his, looked her in the eyes, and whispered something that made her laugh through tears. In that moment, I didn't think of Claire, didn't think of Jake's betrayal or Pinterest boards filled with stolen dreams. I thought of my mother, who'd once told me, "Love isn't about perfection, Beta. It's about presence." And this quiet, uncurated human moment was presence in its purest form. After the ceremony, Mia found me near the the garden. She hugged me tightly, her voice thick with emotion. "Thank you," she said, for showing me I didn't have to be someone else to be loved. I held her for a long moment. "You were always enough," I whispered. "You just needed to believe it." That night back in Portland, I updated our real over perfect one last time. 6 months ago, I thought justice meant exposing liars. Now I know it means creating spaces where truth can breathe. To everyone who's ever felt replaced by a fantasy, your real self is not a flaw. It's your superpower. Keep showing up. Keep being real. Nina. Beneath it, I shared a photo from Mia's wedding. Not the couple, but the empty chairs after the ceremony. Sunlight pooling on the wooden floor. No people. No poses. Just space. Room for truth to grow. The post went viral within hours. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was honest. Comments poured in from thousands. "I canceled my engagement today. Chose myself. Started therapy after reading your posts. Thank you. My sister and I are talking again. We're choosing real over rivalry." One message stood out. A short note from an unknown number. "Saw your post. Enrolled in family therapy today. See us." I didn't reply. Didn't need to. Some healing happens in silence. A week later, Jake and I sat on our porch, sipping coffee as rain misted the city. He handed me a letter. "From your old design school," he said softly. It was an invitation to speak at their annual ethics symposium on digital authenticity, emotional integrity, and the cost of curated lives. They wanted to make our real over perfect part of their curriculum. I accepted. Not for fame, not for validation, but because if one person could avoid the pain I'd endured, if one sister could choose love over envy, one fiancé could honor his vows, one woman could believe she was enough just as she was, then every tear, every sleepless night, every shattered trust would have been worth it. That fall, I launched the Real Over Perfect project in partnership with universities and mental health nonprofits. We taught teens how to spot emotional manipulation online. We helped families navigate sibling rivalry without comparison. We gave workshops on building relationships based on presence, not performance. And through it all, I never mentioned Claire by name, never posted screenshots of her Pinterest board, never turned her into a villain, because the deepest revenge isn't destruction, it's refusal. Refusal to let someone else's lie define your truth. Refusal to become what hurt you. Refusal to believe that love must be earned through perfection. 6 months after Mia's wedding, I received a small package in the mail. No return address. Inside, a single pressed white rose and a note in familiar handwriting. "I'm learning to love the real me. Thank you for not making me a monster. See." I placed the rose in a book, my mother's old journal, and closed it gently. Some wounds never fully heal, but they can become gardens. And mine, it was blooming. Justice wasn't Claire's apology or Jake's second chance. It was the day a stranger's wedding reminded me that the most powerful revenge is helping others choose real love over perfect lies, and knowing you were brave enough to do it first.